Welcome to the Beasts of the NFC East podcast. I'm your host, Sean Gnitzcavich, with my co-host, Jeremy Goode. Week 9, Jeremy Goode. What is good?
What is good? Week, Sean. Just another great week. 4 wins in a row for the Eagles. 4 weeks in a row, Jalen Hurts hasn't turned the ball over. There's certainly correlation there. Not the best game at the end by the Eagles. We'll get into it. I'll be honest. Up 22-0, and it was close at the end, no doubt. But we'll get into it. The Eagles win, while Washington, of course, wins. Giants lose. Dallas loses. It's ironic that they have no run game, and then their only running back really is suspended because of missing meetings or something. So it's just Dallas as it gets there. We'll get into it. Great week. Let's get into it.
Yeah, a lot of great storylines. But yeah, let's just start in order here. We'll start with my depressing New York Football Giants. Well, I'll tell you what. Washington sweeps the Giants. That's just and you know what? Washington sweeps the Giants, goes into MetLife. I'm so sorry for the season ticket holders. I'm sorry for people who are fans of this team like me. But Washington goes into MetLife and they stomp the Giants. Yes, it got close at the end, but they still stopped the Giants 27-22, if you ask me. I mean, there's just it was closer than it felt in a way. I mean, there was a chance we could have won that game. There was some decisions that I think Brian Daboll is making me question his ability as a play caller. But let's go to the good. The Commanders are 7-2. We'll give the Commanders their flowers. They deserve it. Commanders are 7-2. They swept the Giants. They actually scored a touchdown in this one. They actually scored 3 touchdowns in the first half. And then kind of were stymied in the second half. No touchdowns in the second half. But that's what happens when you have a lead like that. You can kind of just hold on to the lead, run the ball. Jaden Daniels, still no turnovers. I saw a stat through 9 games, the Commanders have the least amount of turnovers since 1993 with 3 turnovers. So Jaden Daniels isn't just efficient on the ground. He isn't just efficient passing the ball. He's able to avoid sacks. The Giants, who led the league in sacks, I didn't even check. I don't think we probably lead the league in sacks anymore because we got 0 on Jaden Daniels. Didn't seem like we were getting as much pressure as we should have either. I mean, it's tough. Like I was saying, like Jaden Daniels is elusive. With Brian Robinson out, they were able to just kind of divvy up the backfield pretty evenly and still run relatively efficiently over this New York Football Giants team. Terry McLaurin gets 2 catches. Terry McLaurin has 2 catches, both for touchdowns, both over my good friend Deonte Banks, who looks so close in coverage, but can't get his hands up and can't do anything on it.
Didn't he have ball skills at Maryland in college?
No, that was the one thing. He wasn't like big in like interceptions. He was just more like really good in tight man coverage. But he's just not breaking up these passes. Like you see Terry McLaurin's eyes, and Terry McLaurin's like talking shit. Like I'm like, you know what, Terry, talk your shit. Honestly, I think Deonte needs to be humbled a little bit, and I feel bad for him. Everybody's hating on him. You know, he got benched last week. Man, it's rough. It is rough out here. But let's flip over to the Giants. I mean, Jaden Daniels looks good. He'll probably win Rookie of the Week again, even though like he had a good performance. He had a winning performance. It wasn't like blow you away, but everybody just loves these Commanders, and they have good reason to. I mean, and Dante Fowler has 2 sacks. You know, I was criticizing this pass rush for having all these, you know, old failed first round attempts, but they've been efficient enough. Dan Quinn has done a good job of putting these guys together. Let's flip to the Giants. Daniel Jones throws a touchdown in MetLife. Finally, I don't know why I put a Tyrone Tracy first touchdown bet in. I know that they were probably going to try to get the Daniel Jones touchdown in there to quiet all the haters. Throws a touchdown at home. Throws 2 touchdowns at home. Yet still in the first half, I believe he had 0 passing yards. because he had the 2-yard touchdown pass to Chris Manhertz. I bet everybody had a bet on Chris Manhertz anytime touchdown, which, by the way, he should have scored a touchdown earlier this season, but I got taken back based on the Malik Neighbors not being set last week against the Steelers. But he threw 2 screens that were just negative to Theo Johnson. It was a big running the ball first half. Tyrone Tracy looked efficient, still leading the way, carrying the torch as the Giants lead back. Malik Neighbors had no catches in the first half, 9 in the second half. It makes me think maybe if we got him going a little more, in that first half, we wouldn't have to be playing catch up. 2 2-point conversion failures again. I don't know about your thoughts on that, Jeremy, but I feel like you don't go for the first one, I feel like you don't. Well, I guess at the end of the day, we needed both of them, but we needed at least one of them to tie it,
Yes.
I think you save it, especially for this Giants team that needs more hope. I don't know. Every time I'm like, maybe just kick the first one, just get the 1 point, so that way we have a little bit more hope for the second 2-point conversion. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Don't make it so that you need to get both of them. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I know I'm ranting through these Giants, so
it's something that I've been debating with over the last few years. The analytics a lot of times says to go for the 2 points. And I think ultimately in those situations, the analytics are right. The issue I always have is I get it, but if you miss it, then it becomes even more pressure. It's tough. I don't know. I understand why coaches do it. The Eagles had some issues too yesterday with that stuff. I think that a lot of it's overthinking itself too. But if the analytics overwhelmingly says it's the right move, I guess you sort of have to balance it. It's just tough. I don't know what you do. I think with the Giants, how points aren't as easy to come by. Maybe it's best to go out swing like that with a team with the Giants. So I don't know.
That's fair. And I think it's just the play calls too. I mean, we didn't call some stupid have 5 wide receivers bunched up in the left and not know what the play is. But still, It just seems like 2 big fails, the sack for Daniel Jones, the failed run too. It's just I don't know. I'm almost more dejected and sad that I am. I'm not even ranty angry. I'm just I kind of expected this.
Yeah.
It fell flat. I mean, I kept saying this is the way I want to lose. Lose close.
Right.
So that way we get a first round pick and we can finally replace Daniel Jones. But it just makes me feel like blah. I'll tell you what though. There's some. I'm trying to be an optimist here. Theo Johnson gets his first touchdown, which is awesome, and he looks good. And Tyrone Tracy looks good.
That's kind of nice, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he split 2 defenders in a nice seam for that touchdown. And he's a big, bulky receiver. He's athletic. He looks good going forward. Malik Neighbors, no catches in the first half. I mean, I think that was more play design. We just kept on pounding the rock. I mean, Brian Dable backed it up by saying we were averaging 7 yards per carry, which we were. Tyrone Tracy looked good, just kind of running all over, kind of evened out throughout the game. Drew Phillips still looks good. So I saw some people being oh, maybe Joe Shane isn't that bad. This draft class looks really good. It's early. But guess what? The last 2 draft classes that he has look like shit. And the fact that Saquon Barkley is still balling out doesn't look great. I've been over this. I feel like this is Groundhog Day. The fact that Xavier McKinney is balling out doesn't look great. The fact that we didn't keep Julian Love, who played great for us in that play, and then becomes a Pro Bowler 2 years in a row after that. It's you have to retain some of these guys. And that's why I really hope we're not sellers at the wrong price with the trade deadline coming up tomorrow. I mean, who knows?
Right.
I remember last year we got like the update while we were filming about the Leonard Williams trade.
Yes.
So maybe Darius Slayton and Azeez Ojulari will be traded before this even.
Well, Azeez, this is his final year, correct?
This is, and Darius Slayton's technically.
Okay.
Like it's his
I don't think Azeez is going to sign back with the Giants, so I would assume you'd want to trade him.
I don't know though. I think it depends, because I think maybe if we start using him, you might want to re-sign him with the Giants. And I think he's a good depth piece, because if we get rid of Azeez, I mean, yeah, we can draft another one. But I'm kind of sick of this whole like parting ways and then trying to draft their replacement.
Yeah,
no doubt. Taking another 3 years to develop too. Like I'd rather just kind of draft for the best. You know, I
agree. Yeah.
Draft the best player available and then kind of keep players like Azeez, who's been on this team and I feel like is getting used to this. Like he's been producing, obviously no sacks in this game. It's just sad. Like that's something the Giants defense kind of failed them in this one. I'm not going to lie. Like all around. Because the offense, this was probably Daniel Jones' best game, even for having no passing yards in the first
Pretty good
half.
game. Pretty balanced.
For the second half, dude, like 174 yards in the second half is pretty good. Pretty good.
Ran well too.
Yeah, he did. Oh, yeah. He was actually – and he trucked after that Wan'Dale Robinson touchdown got taken back, which was just BS. Like,
that was silly.
It was not a big play. But Daniel Jones was able to at least run it in and trucked Mikey Sanders-Hill. So, good for you, Daniel. You know, like, it's sad. It's sad that we held on to him for this long. It's still sad that he's gone. Or, I mean, he's going to be gone. But, I mean, I think Giants are just ready. Like, every Giants fan I know, like, even the people who are trying to hold on, like, you can't hold on for this guy anymore. You know, it's over.
This might be an insult, and I really don't mean it for it to be. I think he'd be a really good backup for a team because of his abilities, but his lack of abilities is you wouldn't want to start that for a championship team. Even if you had the best team around him, you still wouldn't want to start that at quarterback. So yeah, I don't know what the road is for him going forward. I assume he'll get another starting job, probably. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't think he's going to get a starting job right away, but I think he might.
Yeah.
I think he's going to Joe Flacco it and get some pinch starts, look okay, just like the Giants. Like he tricked Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen into giving him $40 million a year after, I would say, like safe but mediocre play, like high floor, super low ceiling play. That
what helped? Yeah, I think what helped
that got us to a playoff win. Yeah,
what helped with that deal was that the Giants won that year to a relative winning gets paid, and in that year, Daniel Jones played well too. He didn't really turn the ball over. Smart with the football. Didn't wow you with anything. Wasn't like exceptional with stats. But if you don't turn the ball over, you move the ball and you win, you're going to get paid. And that's why it was always so weird with not to dismiss this game, but like just so weird about that year's team. Like I always thought like they were too early to the party, and like it's still hard to like work. Like it's an impressive year. Congratulate, like to get to the divisional round with Daniel Jones, but like, do you really want to run that back and try to emulate? It's just going to be tough because he's a tough quarterback to do that with, just because he's so lacking with throwing the ball down the field, to the sidelines, numbers to the sideline throws. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I think he'll eventually start somewhere, but. And it's a shame because now he's putting like performances where it's like, it's not really his fault they're losing, but so I think what we found is it's ultimately not good enough with Daniel Jones, regardless of what he does. If he has good games, not good enough to win. If he plays really well, maybe they win, but there's also a chance that the team loses because it's just not good enough. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like rather than recap this game especially, because I feel like if you're a Commanders fan, you're like, oh, well, we beat the Giants. They're kind of trash.
Right.
If you're a Giants fan, you're like, you know what? We've seen it. It's over. I think it's better to react to where we're at now that we're passing officially the midway point. So, I mean, this might be stupid because who knows, like the trade deadline's tomorrow. But Darius Slayton, with his production, what he's done for this team, he's like been the Giants' leading receiver, 4 or 5 years out of his 6-year career. He's been here with Daniel Jones.
Yep.
No, I'm thinking, and this is the last year that he's with the Giants, but I think that he's worth re-signing. I don't really know exactly what the free agent market is. What would you trade him for, in all honesty? If you were the Giants, knowing that he could be a good piece, I think even Wan'Dale Robinson's production, I feel like has been like I think it's kind of faux pas, like just kind of he hasn't really done that much. I would say that Darius Slayton is still the second best receiver on this team by far. What do you think is worth a Darius Slayton trade?
Well, I think if you can fleece a team, I would say if you get a 3rd round pick, absolutely. I think if someone offers you a 4th, I would go for that as well. The problem I see with Darius Slayton with the Giants is, and maybe this is because I'm not a fan of the Giants and I'm not directly on top of the situation too.
Yeah.
Even for what he's done, it doesn't seem like it's worthwhile. Like it's sort of like someone has to get the yards eventually, and maybe it's him. It's not like he's amounted to a winning culture in New York. Again, that's not all his fault. It's probably not most of his fault either. But like maybe if you're the Giants, maybe you just move on from him because I think he could walk, honestly, because if he's a free agent, I think unless you know something I don't know, maybe he just wants to get out of New York. So you might as well get a pick for him in the process. And it seems like wide receivers go for you have to pay a premium for wide receivers these days at the trade market, and he's not a bad player for teams to pursue at the trade market for sure. Yeah, I just don't
think that we'll get a 4th. I mean, a 4th I'll do. 5th, I don't know. Like the Giants we've gotten a little lucky with our 5th round. Like Tyrone Tracy looks pretty good. I think Micah McFadden was either a 4th or a 5th, and he looks pretty good. But
the great thing, it depends on how
Darius
much
Slayton was a 5th round pick.
It depends on how much faith you have in Joe Shade ultimately, because what a lot of GMs will do, the Giants obviously are not going to make the playoffs. They don't have any aspirations for this year. If you're looking forward, if you're Joe Shade, you can say, let me get this 5th round pick. Maybe this 5th round pick can turn into a 4th round pick. Maybe I could trade the 5th round pick in the draft next year for someone's for the year after. He also doesn't have that kind of leash in that time frame because of being fired potentially. But that's sort of stuff that you sort of have to do as a GM in today's NFL to be on the cutting edge and to be going forward and just be one of the better GMs, I think. So, yeah, and otherwise, if you don't trade him, you just risk him walking, which I think he very well could do. So, yeah, I think, like I said, I don't think someone will offer 3. If they do, you take it a run. If someone offers a 4, you take a 2. I think a 5th too, you would do it. Maybe a 6th not. It depends on like. Maybe you just also have to move on from some of these players from the last 4 or 5 years, even if they were good too. Maybe you just have to change the culture as a whole. I don't know. I also think that like Slade's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he moves the needle for a team that just needs a revamp personally. But if you keep him too, he can provide you some help for the end of this year. No doubt, he'll give you some yards. But it's ultimately about going forward in the future, I guess, with him.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, this wide receiver class looks really good too. But you don't want to, like I said, just keep replacing. But I'm also thinking, as much as I do love these guys, like the Giants suck, but the rest of the team sucks. I think. Let me go on Tankathon. I think we're like 5th right now, but maybe stockpile these picks just in case you do need to move up.
I agree.
A Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, because honestly, those are the only 2 that I feel like have proved to be
I would agree
above and away trade up for. Like Garrett Nussmeier's looking okay. Jalen Milroe has some decent, like Quinn Ewers. I like love
Quinn, but there's something that's
the injury stuff with Quinn. I feel like he's not really good at the deep ball as much.
No doubt, and I think when you don't want to keep on making the same mistake when you're picking a quarterback and missing every time. And so you're right. Yeah, it comes down, I guess, guys like Cam and Shedeur too. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still at 7th. That's what sucks. We're still at 7. We're 2-7, but everybody in the league is 2-7 or 2-6. Like we're
the
so
good,
we're
I mean, the good thing,
7th.
the good
It's
thing from
awful.
your,
It's
the good
like
thing from your, but the good thing from your perspective is there's still another half of the season to go. So if you feel like the Giants can keep losing, which I think a lot of people do, I think there might be some bad teams that like get through a game or two. I don't know. So at least you have games. You have some. It's only early November, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to like. We are playing the Panthers next week, and they beat the Saints, but the Saints kind of blow too.
True.
I think the Giants. I still think that the Giants are a better team. What happened?
The Saints just fired Dennis Allen a few hours ago.
Really?
So.
No way. I didn't even see that. That makes sense, though. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. He wasn't really pushing the needle.
He did a bad job. He was on. I thought he was on the hot seat last year too, and then jumps out to a 2-2-0 record, put on 50 points against Dallas, and then we just realized how much of frauds they were. So.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else really to talk about for the Giants. I mean, anything else you want to talk about for the Commanders?
Not the best game, I think, for them. I guess I thought the Giants could have. I thought they could have won this game even before the game started because of the divisional rivalry. It's in New York. You got a really nice performance out of Daniel Jones. Yeah, I thought I thought Tracy. I thought he was game planned for a little more, which is something that New York's gonna have to keep in mind going forward with the season, how people are going to adjust. Yeah, Washington gets another win, 7-2. Divisional game on the road, so that's I'll give them that notch. That's positive for sure. I'm just waiting for them to play a little better competition.
Well, hey, they got you guys coming up pretty soon.
Yes, that's a big one for sure. And that'll be big for them as well. Yeah, I thought with the way the Eagles handled the Giants when the Eagles were still a little dysfunctional in New York a few weeks ago, and the way Washington played them, I guess it's tough to completely compare. I just thought Washington would have had a better performance, and the Giants did a much better job against them than we thought.
Yeah, still rough. I'll tell you what. Compared to the last meeting, like what you were saying on the preview, like the Commanders have grown. I think they showed that growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jaden looked a little. I mean, they were able to score touchdowns this time, so that was a plus. But also, like they get rid of Brian Robinson, and like Brian Robinson has been like a rock for him. I still think he's by far away their best running back. But Chris Rodriguez Jr. comes back. I mean, I think he's been kind of injured throughout the year, or just like not using the rotation, and he was able to put the game away. Just keep on running down the Giants' throat at the end there, which like weren't able to stop him. Austin Eckler obviously had a great game, and Jeremy McNichols, he had some good games throughout the year, but he was kind of cheeks in this one
early on.
And Brandon Coleman, who we were talking about, the left tackle, the third-round pick, I believe out of TCU, he finally was a full-time starter in this game and looked pretty good. So, like, they loved him in the preseason, and they've kind of been rotating. I think maybe he's finally earned that starting spot full-time, which, like, halfway through the season, this is about the time that you do make a change like that. And if he can keep playing well, that's just another great hit for this Commanders team who has a bunch of cap going into next year. Like, this wasn't supposed to be the year, and they look like they might be able to make a playoff push. So
yeah,
if you're a Commanders fan, you must be pretty stoked. I envy you quite a bit. But who knows? Maybe we'll get Cam Ward next year, and we'll be the new Commanders. Hopefully, please. All right, you want to get it? I guess we can go to Dallas next if we're going.
Yeah, we'll do. I guess go in order.
Yeah.
Dallas.
Dallas 21, Falcons 27. Close game. Dallas comes up short. Jeremy, I'll let you take it away.
Well, Dallas scores a touchdown, sort of. They needed the onside kick essentially at the end, and of course they didn't get it because it's impossible to get onside kicks in football, which I sort of like and sort of also dislike, but I think I like it more, I guess. But yeah, Dallas goes into Atlanta. Atlanta's nice team with Kirk, I guess.
Yeah.
And storyline is Falcons are up 27-13 for more or less most of the second half. Dak gets hurts his hamstring, out for the game. Dallas, I think, then scores with like 2 minutes left, a touchdown. And then they can't recover the onside kick. This is just a team that's really good at losing right now. They have no identity.
Oh, yeah.
They have no coaching. They have no quarterback leadership. They have no running backs, period.
Although Rico Dowdle actually had a really good game.
Dowdle had a good game.
Yeah.
Dak also used his legs a little bit. Yeah, but even the games where they are able to move the ball, I guess, on the ground, still not enough. Yeah, they missed Dak. It's interesting, too, because Dak gets hurt, had thrown 24 passes. Cooper Rush outthrows him with 25 to end the game. Of course, they had to be throwing in the situations that they were in, being down, but it's still a team that ran the ball for, let me see, 15, 17, 19, 20, 21 times. A little light, I guess. Ferguson had a good game for once. CeeDee Lamb, active-ish.
Yeah, he kind of did the whole Malik Neighbors thing. A bunch of catches for like 6 yards,
Had a 2-point conversion, also hurt his shoulder. That's not a great injury for receivers, I think, that we've seen. So not good for them there. Defense couldn't contain Kirk. Atlanta, of course, has their 2 running back system with Robinson and Tyler Algier. Obviously, Bijan getting probably 70% more touches on the ground, but Tyler Algier is also a really nice different back too. It gave them a touchdown. Yeah, they just I interrupted myself, I guess, with what Dallas is bad at. They don't get stops. They don't stop the run. Their secondaries, nothing to write home about.
I'll tell you what. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be buyers at this trade deadline. Not with the way. I mean, especially with the Dak injury.
Because of too many losses and what
I think too many losses. Yeah, I just feel like this season's over. But I'll tell you what. I think if Jerry Jones doesn't see a need to fire Mike McCarthy now, I don't know why. Let's just go through some of the mistakes here. Early in the game on a third down conversion, there's 10 men on the defense for a Bijan Robinson carry.
Yep.
And then there's there was 12 men on the defense during one of the field goals, which is also bad. They were 0 for 3 on fourth down, and one of the fourth downs being a fake punt, which, I think they needed 3 yards. So instead of doing that, why don't you just draw up a good play?
Yeah, instead of the punter throwing the ball.
Yeah, not the punter throwing the ball. Maybe
silly.
Snap it to somebody else to throw the ball. Yeah, it's not looking good for these Cowboys.
It's interesting also too because and not to interrupt, Sean, but they need to be, but this team needs a lot. So for them, this is a team where it's if they could have just scraped through a few more wins, gritty performances, they could easily be buyers. Now they need a lot. They need a receiver. They need a running back. They probably need a defensive tackle. They need more of a rush.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, it doesn't help. I mean, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence are still out.
True.
So when you got Carl Lawson, which he had 2 sacks, he was getting efficient, but that was the only pass rush he really had was Carl Lawson, which you don't love. But yeah, I mean even when you get Micah Parsons which, by the way, I've seen a few Cowboys fans say to trade Micah Parsons just because of how obnoxious he is with his podcasts.
Yeah, he sounds chill with that. He sounds. If you ever listen to him, he sounds so stupid with the stuff he says. That stuff,
and that's coming from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but he's I get it, dude. He's one of the best young defensive stars in the league.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the thing is, he's young, and I feel like he's not like he's trying to give Anthony Richardson advice, which, you know, maybe that advice would have helped him not get benched. But still, it's like, dude, like this guy is like 1 year younger than you, you know,
Right.
like and I'm not gonna lie, you got like your teammates, Trayvon Diggs, who I guess made up of the reporter with a D's nuts joke, but like then you have him on and you're defending him, and it's just, yeah, I don't know. Cowboys, I don't know who hurts more now, the Giants or the Cowboys. I think probably the Cowboys, because you had higher hopes. You know, the Giants after this year were like, okay, we can finally move on from our quarterback and we can see what's going on. You guys just paid Dak big money. You guys want to talk shit about the Giants paying Daniel Jones money?
Yep.
Yeah, and Dak Prescott is falling apart.
And they didn't make any adjustments in the off. They didn't add anybody. They could have had Derrick Henry, who didn't go for that much money, and they said they couldn't afford him. And their reasoning too, it's just so embarrassing. Like just say you didn't want to bank on him and his age and his injuries. Don't say you couldn't afford him. I mean,
yeah,
it's wild too, because you look at like a team like the New York Yankees, and we're cross-referencing sports. They're not the Yankees like what we grew up with our parents, grandparents, and whatever. They change. It's different now. The Yankees are not who like they build up they used to be. And you see that with Dallas too. You've seen it with Dallas for a while, but like this is a year where it's like, wow, they're not throwing any punches, and like it's. They get what they put into it.
Well, the Yankees at least made some investments. You know, that's why they made it to the World Series, like Ron Soto, and like the Cowboys aren't doing that. They're not. No doubt. And I mean, dude, Derrick Henry has 1,000 yards on the year right now. I'm trying to pull up the Cowboys rushing yards on the year, but I bet you it's probably like almost half of that. Let's see what we have. 656. Yeah. Compared to Derrick Henry already having 1,000 this year. Right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Not good, Jerry Jones, and not good, Mike McCarthy. I mean, just bad play calls, like just bad team etiquette in general. I mean, the Cowboys are just sloppy, and they had a chance to, but the Falcons look better. What's up with like the star wide receivers getting hurt though, like CeeDee Lamb and then also Drake London after that touchdown, dude?
Physical.
Do you think yeah.
Go ahead. No, ask your question.
No. Do you think he hurt it after like that headstand that he did?
I don't know. It makes you wonder. It certainly wouldn't be.
That doesn't look like a very safe celebration.
No, it doesn't look fun either. I mean, it's an interesting flex, but like, it's a good photo op. But I don't know. It doesn't seem that fun. Yeah, these game changing receivers gotta stay healthy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, a big issue with the shoulder, and he gets the 2-point conversion, and an Atlanta player brushes by and hits his shoulder, and you could just tell that like that was the last thing he wanted. It was just he kind of felt his pain actually on that play, but yeah, he's there's not much offense on that Dallas team, and he's of course the biggest piece. Ferguson played well for the first time in a minute, but otherwise, they just don't have much. They don't have much going for them offensively. They don't have much scoring, moving the ball consistently, going up and down the field. And it makes you wonder about the teams they've beat: the Browns, I guess the Giants. Yeah. Who's the third? I don't know.
I hope that the Giants get like. There's few games that I want to win for the rest of the season. The Cowboys are one of them. You know, I kind of want to lose out, get a good draft pick, but beating the Cowboys, I don't care if they're the hamstrung Cowboys. I don't care if it's Cooper Rush. I still want to beat the Cowboys.
I love that. I will say that.
Yeah, it's just still. It's rough. I was seeing if there's any update. It looks like it's the shoulder for CD and the hamstring for Dak, and I feel like if Dak is hurt, I don't even know if you play CD against the Eagles. You know,
it's an interesting question, and I think I think maybe maybe it makes more sense to hold him out, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
It
Definitely
would say a
interesting.
lot. It would also say a lot if you did. If Dak wasn't good enough to play, and you could get CD out there comfortably, and then say, not today because Dak. They would say it would be them throwing in the white towel ultimately, which says a lot.
Well, the good thing is if CD and Dak are hurt, at least they can rely on their very famous run game in Dallas.
Yeah,
Maybe Zeke Elliott won't be missing meetings and be a healthy scratch again, which
there
I
you
don't know.
go.
Maybe it was actually better because I think it made Rico Dowdle play better.
Possibly
Dalvin Cook had 2 rushes for 8 yards. I mean, not as good as CD Lamb, but yeah,
better than
uh,
Zeke though.
better than Zeke. That is better than Zeke, especially that it's
It's so
and
bad.
that's just another thing too. Like Zeke, that can't be good for the dynamic of the locker room. Like he's like a Cowboy great, quote unquote, was
Yeah.
great for this team. Came in with Dak, and the fact that he's missing meetings and stuff just like kind of goes to show the feeling of the Cowboys internally. And I mean, I don't see how you could keep Mike McCarthy going forward. Maybe you fire him mid-season to try to get some sort of a spark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
I
also don't
mean,
really love what Mike Zimmer's doing on the defense either. So like, I don't even know who you have take over there, but
right.
very interesting.
Yeah, McCarthy
Did you
should
see
have
the
been fired.
rumor that I think there was a rumor that Ben Johnson wanted to go to Dallas? Was that
I hope that's not the case because I think he's
was
quite
that?
good.
I think
I
that
have
was
not heard
the thing.
I
And
I haven't
and
heard
and
that
Mike,
rumor. What I've heard about Ben Johnson is that he wants to finish the job in Detroit with a Super Bowl. Um, Lame. I'll just be honest. If someone wants you as an offensive coach last year, which every team needed a head coach needed, you should have left. It's sort of also unfair that like other teams have to lose coordinators because they want to be head coaches, and then others like can just like pick and choose like that. But yeah, I regardless, that's another issue.
yeah.
I have not heard that. I have not heard that with Dallas.
Actually,
With
I
them.
looked at it. I didn't see it. And also, if you're Ben Johnson and like you saw that miserable performance that the Lions played
Yeah,
the Cowboys, I feel like you wouldn't want to go there. You'd be like, oh man, what a
no
laughing
doubt.
stock.
If you could develop Goff the way he has, I guess you can do so with Dak, but like, why would you want like if you could pick two? Why would you want Dak? Like, why would you want to be in that situation? I'd rather pick my own quarterback out of the draft, or like maybe someone else who's more, I don't know, established going forward than Dak, who's already in the NFL. But that's just me.
Yeah. Hey, fair. Anything else you want to talk about for these Cowboys? I feel like it's
No, just
yeah, same old Cowboys.
a game that they needed, and a game that they were down 14 points for late for a good bit of it. So I think that sort of tells the story about yesterday and about the team overall in the season they're having.
Yeah, sorry, Cowboys fans. I feel for you because the Giants suck, but also like I kind of hate you guys as a Giants fan. So sorry,
Right.
dude. But let's get to a pretty fun, exciting game towards the end. The Jacksonville
Yes.
Jaguars, Doug Peterson returns to Philadelphia, and they ultimately come up short against the Eagles, 23-28. Jeremy, tell me about this game, dude. Tell me
Well,
about your Eagles and how you
let me say
feel.
this. Let me say this. The first comment I will make, and I truly mean it. This was the worst officiated game in sports history, dating back to Athens with the Romans and the Greeks, and when they would used to do discus early on, and in the wherever, unbelievably atrocious game. Officiated. The refs weren't even watching the game with certain plays. They just let everything play out, which is wrong. You have to watch the game. Um,
Yeah,
I'll try not to. I'll try to add. I'll try to like, tell the story. Eagles jump out to a 22-0 lead. Um, Jacksonville's not a good team, and they took advantage of that early on. Um, Midway through the second or the third quarter, they give a touchdown. and then Saquon Barkley fumbles it.
Doesn't actually fumble it, but he fumbles it.
His foot was touched by a defender. He falls down. They still say he fumbles. And the issue was it was returned by Trayvon Walker for a touchdown, so it put them down 6. Wild stuff. Again, all over the place. It's just a wild game. Offense looked good. I think needs to be a little better overall, but nothing too big of an issue. AJ Brown hurt. I think part of the reason why it wasn't as complete as it could have been is AJ Brown was hurt for the entire second half, which sucks. Yeah. This team is just totally different without him. That's why I've always said that AJ Brown's the best player on this team because he just changes everything, and he also performs at such an elite level. But the team is just a lot different. The offense is a lot different when he is not out there. Defense was great. They held their own in the first half, didn't give up any points, which was great. Sirianni as a head coach, I thought made a lot of bad decisions. But it's weird too because like what I've concluded with Nick Sirianni is that probably about 80% of his decisions, he does a very good job. The keeper that Jalen had for the touchdown, brilliant. The 3rd and 22 play with Saquon where they ran it for like a 25-yard touchdown when they didn't think we were going to run. Brilliant.
Saquon looked good in this game.
Saquon looked great in this game. I don't know if you saw the highlight of him backwards.
Oh, I saw the highlight. I saw, like, as soon as the game came on, I wanted to vomit because, like, you see him in the Kelly Green. That's what everybody photoshopped him in once he got signed to the Eagles. Yes. And, he spin moves, and then backwards jumps over a player. Like, yeah,
I've never seen that
Tyrone Tracy has been playing really well for the Giants, but I'll tell you who would have been playing a lot better and maybe would have this team at more than 2 wins is Saquon Barkley.
It's funny too, and I don't mean to troll the Giants, but like, I think if you're a Giants fan, you're sort of looking at that and you're like, if we could have just put a decent, sustainable team around Barkley. Not anybody like great, but just like decent pieces here and there, it could be different. But alas, regardless, Saquon was great. He ran very, very well. He is just such a difference maker on this team. He's been so dominant. He helps end the games too with the run. But the Eagles put themselves in a blender at the end. I will say the fake fumble by Saquon, because it was a fake fumble, that was a changing point of the game. That just completely changed everything. Made it a 1-score game for most of it. Then the Eagles eventually hit Devontae Smith for a touchdown, a one-handed catch, which was very, very attractive and elite. Oh, yeah. They go up 12. They go up a touchdown. And then they kick the extra point for 5. And then the Eagles didn't score, which was a problem because they kicked a 57-yard field goal that had no chance. Then, of course, Jacksonville has the ball basically in midfield that you have to stop them from scoring a touchdown. Nakobe Dean comes through and jumps in front of a pass in the end zone, 20-yard lob from Trevor Lawrence. I've said this before about this Eagles team. The thing that's been missing about this team is turnovers. Even when the defense is playing well and winning games because of the defense, they're still not really getting the turnovers besides last weekend against the Bengals. This team will win the Super Bowl if they can consistently turn the ball over. If they can give you 2 turnovers a game, more or less, they will win the Super Bowl, assuming everything else stays in place. Assuming the offense doesn't shoot themselves in the foot too badly, loses games. In the defense,
AJ Brown can stay healthy.
That too, absolutely that. And everything just stays in place, they will win the Super Bowl. It's that simple. It's just about getting the difference.
I don't know if you've seen the Lions, but
yeah, no doubt. But I think, but if the Eagles are, I think it shows that if the Eagles are able to get those turnovers against the Lions, you win those kind of games. It's nice to see them turn the ball over. It's nice to see a game-winning turnover. I've said to people after the game, you have to get the ball. It's a great play by Nakobe Dean. It was actually a great interception too. Like it was his first career interception.
Athletic.
Yes, it was a play where it's like, wow, I can't believe we came down with that as a linebacker. If the Eagles have dropped so many interceptions this year, or dropped so many passes from quarterbacks this year, you just have to make a play. You have to you finally have to be on the right side of some of these plays. And the Kobe Dean play, obviously, that was the case, and it made the difference because that was a win, which was great. But if you're the Eagles, you gotta get the football. It's such a different team if this team can get the football ultimately. So, yeah, Devontae was great. I thought Jalen played very well. I think he gets a little I think he was a little casual with the football in the first half, throwing the ball, which I don't mind if the receivers are open. I still think he has a tough time throwing guys open, and I think he cannot anticipate them being open. He has to see them open from the start. I think he took a few sacks. I don't think play calling helped on certain plays too. Um, I thought there were some guys open here and there they didn't hit, but overall, I thought he played really well. Again, it can't be understated. Another game where he didn't turn the ball over is another game that they won. If he doesn't turn the ball over, they're gonna win. So,
also when he runs away, he does too.
yes,
like this is the Jalen Hurts that you saw on their Super Bowl run. He's able to run the ball well. He's able to pass the ball efficiently, and he's not turning the ball over. And accounts for 3 total touchdowns.
Yeah, so. You're right. You're right about the running too, because what happens when he's running the ball well? It moves the ball, it kills clock, it changes field position. It probably will amount to points ultimately. It's just that's why teams love running quarterbacks these days.
And it holds the defense accountable, which when you have weapons like Devonta Smith and Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown when he's on the team, when he's healthy, that frees up that too. I mean, it does having that running threat. I mean, that's why I think Lamar Jackson has been able to be as efficient as he has been this year.
Doubt.
If you look at their teams, they're actually like kind of similar in a way. You have like a rushing quarterback, obviously different between Lamar and Jalen. You have a superstar running back that people seem to deem unvaluable, and then you have good pass catchers around him. So it's the Eagles definitely have a solid recipe, and your defense is kind of turning it. I mean, you guys just played the Jaguars, who
they're looking good. Yeah, it helps to play,
but
and not all those points were like. Obviously, their defense returned the fake fumble for a touchdown, so that's not on the defense. I thought the offense sold a few times too when they had the ball, which didn't help the defense with positioning either. They're it's tough too because they dominated Jacksonville so much that it's like you have to remember that too. But you can't get complacent. You have to finish the job, which they did. The issue that I see with Sirianni, ultimately, I don't know if I mentioned this. Oh, I don't know if I completed it. 80% of the time, he makes the right call. And then about 10% of his calls are bad misses. And then the other 10% are him trying to compensate for those bad misses and trying to overcorrect them from when he made those calls earlier in the game, even though it's not the same situation. And it's not good. I mean, it's you're going to lose games like that to good teams eventually. That's the cost. It's a shame though, because like I think Sirianni is doing a decent job with most of the game flow, but he shoots himself in the foot at the worst time, and he'll repeat the same mistake again when he shouldn't, and just doesn't have a sense of the game, doesn't have a sense of the flow at a certain point. When he kicked that field goal from 57 that had no chance, he had no sense of the game at all. And they're lucky that Jacksonville didn't score a touchdown, because a touchdown would have won it. But yeah, you gotta I don't know if Jeffrey Lurie has to talk to him about that, but like it's a shame because there's a lot of things there with Nick Sirianni, and he wins, but like there's just too many things where it's like, oh, you gotta stop shooting yourself in the foot over and over again and making the same mistake, which is going to cost you against good teams. It might cost you against bad teams like Jacksonville. They're lucky, But
Yeah, that was a close one.
Yeah, it was.
As much as it seemed like you guys had that dominance, and the
If full
fact that you
control,
guys weren't able to just like hold them is Nick Sirianni's fault ultimately.
yeah, it's weird too because like a lot of the times they went for 2 points. I think they did it 4 times. I think I could have justified it 3 times. Now, I'm like I said earlier, maybe sometimes you just take the 1 point. Like if you go up 17-0 in halftime, I'd rather that than 16 because 17 obviously is a 3-score game. And like at that point, what's the difference between 18-0 and 17-0? Even if it's from the
Yeah.
one. I think Sirianni is too aggressively stubborn at some things in terms of score wise. I think that's where it gets silly. And then, well, one time it was a bad call by the refs, and we didn't even get into the refs. They were just so bad. Obviously, the
Yeah.
fumble we talked about. One time they went for the touch push for the 2-point conversion. He clearly got it. Again, refs, you just have to cross the plane of the end zone. And you see Jalen Hurts on top of the end zone line. So, of course, he crossed the plane. They didn't give it to him. They reviewed it. They didn't give it to him. Baffling stuff. It's probably because they didn't have a camera shot, but, like, you can use inference. And, like, you can actually tell. Like, it's just silly by the refs. And then there was a play where, like, I forget, maybe Parker Washington's knee goes down in midfield. They don't call it. He runs for like another 25 yards. They review it and correct it, but it's so obvious. It's just so bad. But going back to Sirianni's play calling, he just doubles down. And then when they got stuffed on the 2-point conversion the second time, he then didn't do the touch push when it was 4th and 1. And they do a rollout, which was stupid. And also Jalen didn't help because like he wasn't like pump faking or anything. He just ran to the sideline quickly. Still a dumb call by Sirianni. But yeah, it's just and if you took instead of going for it there, if you took the field goal, would have been 2-possession game. So need more of a balance from Nick overall. But there's still a lot of good from him, I think. So it's tough, but it's always a wild adventure. You're up 22 points, 22-0 at home. The day that LaShawn McCoy is being retired for the Hall of Fame, not retired, gets his Hall of Fame nods from the Eagles. Yeah. Need better.
No, I agree. And also, like, if you take those 2 failed 2-point conversions too,
yeah,
like you guys are up 30-23. So yeah, I mean, technically Jacksonville, if they scored, could go for the 2 points, but I don't know. I think everybody's getting a little 2-point happy, but then you put yourself in a hole, and then you have to correct from it too, like you said.
No doubt. And then you overcompensate and overcorrect, which is what Sirianni does. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we move on here?
No, it's just that Saquon play was just wow. And the Devontae catch was just wow. It's just all wow. It's amazing how.
Yeah. You guys are wearing your Kelly Greens. You guys are making beautiful plays, highlight-worthy plays that will go down in Eagles infamy, even against the bad Jack. Like that Saquon jump was like one of the coolest ever. The Devonta Smith catch was awesome. The Nakobe Dean interception was awesome.
Yeah,
like, good for you guys. Good for you.
Jahan Dotson had an acrobatic catch too.
Yeah, Jahan Dotson actually getting a nice, beautiful play and getting active. Totally worth a 3rd-round pick. It's not like you guys would have rather have had DeAndre Hopkins or Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper. Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hopkins. I know this is off script, but I think Hopkins might be a little old. I don't know. He fit the mold.
He's had a 100-yard game already with the Titans this year.
He fit the mold for a slot receiver. Dotson did, which I think they loved. He also is under contract, I think, for next year too. So that's pretty valuable. The Eagles always value that. They value it in the wrong ways because they valued it with Kenny Pickett, which was dumb. Who cares if he has another year of control after this year? It's just not good. But alas, 3rd-round pick, not looking great right now. Hopefully that shapes up though. Yeah,
we'll see. I mean, he's playing behind AJ Brown. Oh wait, AJ Brown's getting hurt, but he did make a play there. Anyways, we have a fantasy football best ball league that me and Jeremy did, where it's just NFC East teams. It's half-point PPR, where we're playing the best quarterback, 2 best running backs, 2 best wide receivers, best tight end, and a flex. And Jeremy had 2 of I believe, the top 3 in half-point PPR scores this week. Jeremy's team reads as follows. Jalen Hurts was the quarterback. He had 29.9 points. Saquon Barkley, RB1, second highest score in the week, or maybe first in half-point PPR, 31.4 points. Your second running back was Jeremy McNichols, though, who had 2 points. With Zeke Elliott and Brian Robinson being out. Jeremy McNichols. Wow. I feel like I keep saying McNipples, but regardless. We got Devonta Smith with 16.7. And you got Terry McLaurin, only had 2 catches, but 2 touchdowns. Thank you, DeAndre Banks, with 14.9. Unfortunately, your tight ends did nothing. So 0 points for your tight ends. That's between.
No, Ertz had a catch.
No, did he?
Yeah.
I don't think he did.
A catch for 5 yards, I think.
Did he? Oh, what? My bad, dude. Sorry. Then you know what? I have to readjust this. You're right. So that means that you have 1 point there for Zach Ertz. Ooh, this is going to get close. And then you have Darius Slayton as your flex with 7.5 points there. Yes. So that gives you, I corrected the Zach Ertz, good catch there, with 103.4 points total. And then you got my team. Daniel Jones leads the way at quarterback with 24.36 points. My RB1 was Rico Dowdle. Hey, there we go, Rico Dowdle. Thank you for your stomach not acting up before the game. You got 19.3 points. Austin Eckler came up big with 15.8 points as my RB2. My wide receiver 1 was CeeDee Lamb with 12.2. My wide receiver 2 was Malik Neighbors with 10.4. My tight end was Theo Johnson, getting his first touchdown for the Giants. Congrats, Theo. Let's keep that up with 12.6 points. And my flex was actually Jake Ferguson with 10.6 points, giving me a total of 105.26. So that was a close one.
I want to recount.
You want to recount it, dude? You can add it up if you want.
I'll get there eventually. I'll find some time in my day.
Here, I'll send it over to you. We can recount it if you want, dude. I'll text it to you. That way you can add it up.
Because there's
Zach Ertz.
It's weird because there's some weeks where like I'll get different numbers. I don't know why. Because it's
I'm on the ESPN. So
I see.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm using the ESPN half-point PPR. Yeah. So I think the quarterback scoring is whatever their standard is.
Right.
Fancy, because I know that my quarterback scoring is always different for what I do. All right, but now we got week 10 previews. Week 10 previews. I'm going to pull up some spreads here. We are starting off with the Giants in Germany playing the Panthers. I am very curious to see what this spread is after the Panthers just beat the Saints. Oh, okay. It's technically a home game for the Panthers too, which I do love, because when you have those, like, if you have a home game in Germany, that doesn't really do anything. Not that it helps the Giants to have a home game regardless, but the spread is New York Giants -5 in Germany with the over/under at 41.5. As of right now, they don't have anything about Daniel Jones starting or not. I have a feeling he probably will keep starting, considering he played one of his best games last week. So there's no reason to really bench him for Drew Lock, aside for the injury clause, which I kind of want to happen. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this game?
Interesting game. Interesting that the Giants opened up at 5 for favorites when it's an away game. And the Panthers, away, obviously, like, it's in London. But it's technically a home game for the Panthers. So they really think there's an 8-point difference, and if it were a neutral site. And the Panthers are coming off a decent game, even against a really bad Saints team, nonetheless. I'll take the Giants, but I think I'm going to take Panthers with the spread at +5. And if it somehow goes up, which I don't know if it will, if it keeps going up, like in favor of New York, I would definitely hammer Panthers, I think. But the Panthers also are just not that good. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well,
I'll take Giants outright, Panthers with the spread.
Hey, you know what, dude? The Bryce Young had a pretty good game against the Saints, and I'm like, and they're 3 rookies who like you kind of want to show out because this team is looking forward to next year. Showed up. Sanders, Jalen Coker, who everybody's in love with right now, and Xavier Legette. But I'm still taking the Giants here. I feel like I don't know if it's. I feel like it probably will be Bryce next week. I'm not entirely sure there, but I think hopefully the Giants keep building on that sack.
Well, it also could be very interesting because the trade deadline is tomorrow, and Bryce Young could be traded. It sounds like so. A lot of teams have reached out to Carolina, so that I think changes some things too. As of now, Monday, 12:11 p.m. on the East Coast, 11:11 on the Nashville coast.
The Central.
Central. Bryce Young is still a Panther. Maybe that changes. That could be interesting.
I've also seen some people saying that the Giants might trade for Anthony Richardson. Don't know how I'd feel about that. Depends on what we traded him for.
Yeah, I don't know. I think find your own quarterback, I'd say, especially when you can have some more creativity. Because I think Richardson is so overrated. Although I think now people are coming to senses, but like makes a lot of flashy plays, but like just can't make the basic one. So that's an issue. But yeah, I don't know if the Giants would do that. If you're, especially at this point, because if you're Indianapolis, you're probably asking for a lot more than you should just because it's only early year.
I feel like at least a second. Think about Josh Rosen and went for a second. I mean, I know it's kind of different, but the only reason why I'd say it's good is because Anthony Richardson has, I feel like, a very similar skill set to Josh Allen in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially Josh Allen coming out. And Brian Daboll was able to shape Josh Allen to a very viable quarterback. So it's like kind of his type. That's the only reason why I would like it. And I think Anthony Richardson is exciting, but also he's putting up some really disgusting, ugly numbers, like the equivalent of Jamarcus Russell. So that's not good.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to go? Let's go to the next. I'm actually. I didn't say my picks. I think the Giants are going to win this, and I think they'll actually cover the spread. I feel like this is a Giants get right game. The Panthers have been able to be run on all over throughout the year with Derek Brown out, so I think Tyrone Tracy can eat. I think J.C. Horn has been kind of mid, so I hope that Malik Neighbors can eat, and then. Nothing about this Panthers offense really scares me. So even though the Giants suck, I don't think we suck that bad. So I think we're going to win this game. Next game, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going to Washington, and the Washington are favored -2.5. Jeremy, your thoughts on this one?
I have the Steelers outright, honestly.
Steelers outright.
So
okay.
I think they have found something with Russell Wilson more than they did with Justin Fields. Although I still think I still think I need to see more from Russell Wilson. Defensively, Steelers have to be here. No, they can't fall apart like we've seen how I think maybe against the Colts. Offensively, they were great, and then the defense was just bad, so they can't have any of those games. But I think the Steelers will go in there against Washington and put out a good, with TJ Watt, put out a good game plan, getting to Daniels. And I think it might be Daniels' first game where he's like, wow, it's a hard NFL season. So I will go Steelers outright.
I do think that this is the best defense that Jaden Daniels is going to be facing. And I don't know. I think this is probably with the Steelers' strengths and the Commanders' weaknesses. I think this is a game that the Commanders could lose. I think this is definitely one of the prove-it games for the Commanders too, even though nobody's saying that the Steelers are like one of the best teams in the league. But like I said, based on their weaknesses and strengths, I also have I definitely have the Steelers plus 2.5. I could see Washington winning this. I mean, they've had some good roles this year. They've been able to play good games, put together a good offense. I still am hesitant with TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Casey Hayward and Minka and just all Joey Porter. Like, their defense is good at all levels, these Steelers, and I feel like this is going to be the test. So yeah, I'm going Steelers here as well.
Okay.
So sorry, Commanders fans. I do want to see you guys a little bit humbled. You're getting a little too cocky for me, and I'm getting jealous because the Giants suck. And then we got the main event, the America's Game of the Week. We got the Cowboys at home, Eagles coming in, and it is Cowboys plus 6.5.
Yes.
At home. Big home dogs. What are you thinking here, Jeremy?
That line, I think Sean suggests that Dak is not playing. I think if he somehow is able to change, the line would change as well. I still love the Eagles, still love the spread. If Dak doesn't play, I say Eagles outright.
Yeah. I agree. Cooper Rush, I'm sorry. Like we've been saying all year, whenever there's like a good running back like Saquon Barkley, I think he's going to run all over this Cowboys team regardless. And then if Cooper Rush is at quarterback, or if CeeDee Lamb is hurt and Dak's healthy, I mean, I could see the Eagles minus 6.5 all day.
Yeah. I'll say, I'll finish up too. Eagles outright, Eagles cover too. Yep.
Oh yeah. And even if Dak and CD are there, I could see the Eagles covering this spread.
I think it might be. Yeah, I think it might be. I don't want to say it like I don't know how to say it, but like it might be easier if the line's lower if Dak's playing, because at that point you still have confidence the Eagles are going to win, and they don't even have to win by as many points because with the Dak effect, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, Cowboys play Trey Lance.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, he had like a pretty exciting preseason game, right? Like 5 interceptions, but like a bunch of, I don't know. Like it's been a minute, but I mean, you spent a pretty solid capital on him. You know,
they went out to get him. They went out to get him, and obviously, the backup quarterback situation is weird because you're not going to play the backup if your actual quarterback's healthy, but your actual quarterback also, he's not healthy. He's also not playing that well, and to be that invested in Trey Lance when they got him, yeah, maybe this is the time to play him.
Yeah, give him a shot. I mean, like seriously, I think Cowboys fans too would rather see. Like we've seen Cooper Rush, he's not, at least see the excitement of Trey Lance.
Oh yeah.
Make it a little fresh. I mean, he'll probably suck too. It'll be like when all the Giants were calling for Jake Fromm, and then Jake Fromm was garbage. Yeah,
it would be so Eagles though if Trey Lance gets out there, like plays well, and it's like, well, but usually these days NFL teams, if they know that a quarterback is hurting and probably not going to play, they usually now, at least the good teams, prepare for both quarterbacks. So if that's the case, hopefully
could be preparing for all three.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. All right, Jeremy. Well, I think that's an episode, my man.
Week 9. There you go.
Week 9. Giants fans, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, man. It's tough. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't even know if you're watching this if you're a Giants fan, because I've had a hard time watching stuff about the Giants. I've endured enough pain during the game.
You Giants fans love to talk on Twitter, so I think you love when this team sucks. Maybe not you, and maybe not your family, but I see some Giants fans that love to just talk on Twitter like they're 8-0 or whatever. And it is Giants Twitter is something else. Let me tell you, it is just a free fall of ideas that are just so bad, so dumb, so silly. But it's been a fan base that's been beaten down since over a decade. So maybe I get it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still watching college football. Just hoping we're able to land one of these top 2 quarterbacks. It's sad. All right. Well,
keep losing.
That's an episode.
Gotta keep losing.
Keep losing. Just keep even against these Panthers.
Losing against the Panthers would be massive. Let me tell you.
Well, I kind of still want Dable to be the coach, so let's maybe beat the Panthers. And
it's a tough.
I don't know. It's dude. I don't even know what to root for anymore.
I know.
I'm so torn, and I'm gonna be even more in a daze at 8:30 in the morning next week Central Time, dude, for that game.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
Jesus,
it'll probably start off my day beautifully. Anyways, comment how great we are, how awful we are, how much you love the takes, how much you hate the takes, and we'll see you next week, whether you like it or not. All right, bye.